Welcome to What the Tech. We're here to tear into the stories that sound too good to be true. And today, we've got a big one. A story about student loan bankruptcy that's being sold as this massive win for borrowers. But stick around, because the real story, well, it's a damning indictment of a completely broken system.
So let's just jump right in. 87%. That's the supposed new success rate for people trying to get their student loans wiped out in bankruptcy. Sounds great, right? A huge victory for anyone drowning in debt. But not so fast. That number is hiding a much, much darker story.
All right, so where did this 87% figure even come from? Well, there's a new study out that's making headlines, showing this massive jump in people successfully getting rid of their student debt. And yeah, that's the official story, the one everyone wants you to hear. And you can really see the shift on this chart. I mean, look at it. Back in 2007, your chances were less than half, only 40%. By 2017, it got a little better, up to 61%. But then, boom, this huge leap to 87%. And that happened right after the government changed the rules in late 2022 to be a bit more lenient.
Okay, but here is the giant catch, the one nobody's talking about. In the last decade or so, over 3 million people with student loans have filed for bankruptcy. 3 million. Now, guess how many of them even bothered to ask a judge to get rid of their student loans? A little over 7,000. No, that's not a typo. That's less than 0.25%.
And right here, this is the moment where that whole feel-good story just completely falls apart. You've got a system that's suddenly working with a sky-high success rate, but practically nobody is even using it. So you have to ask yourself, why? And let me tell you, this is not an accident. This is by design.
See, the system is literally counting on you not knowing the answer to that question. So before we expose what's really happening, do us a favor. If you want more hard-hitting analysis that cuts right through the hype, hit that like button, subscribe to What the Tech, and drop a comment below. Tell us what you think is really going on here.
So, that massive gap we just saw, it exists because of what people call a pervasive myth. This idea that it's impossible, totally impossible, to get student loans discharged in bankruptcy. For decades, the message was pretty clear: don't even try. But you know what? Calling it a myth is way too nice. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was a strategically useful lie. And it was an incredibly convenient lie for, well, pretty much the entire system. Think about it. Lenders and loan guarantors, they loved it. Fewer discharges just meant more money for them. The government, they benefited too, because it made this debt an asset they could always collect on. And you know who else benefited? A lot of lawyers who got to avoid messy, complicated legal fights. It was a lie that kept the whole debt machine running smoothly.
Now, this is the really crucial point. It wasn't just the borrowers who were kept in the dark. The very professionals, the lawyers, whose job it is to know this stuff inside and out, were the ones perpetuating the myth. You have an entire professional class that failed to even mention a legal option that, it turns out, has nearly a 9 in 10 chance of success. I mean, that's basically malpractice.
Okay, so let's shift gears and look at the data. Because this isn't just about numbers and policy. This system has inflicted real, structural harm on actual people. And when you look at who is being driven to these extremes, a really disturbing pattern starts to show up.
Nearly 3/4 of the people fighting to get their student debt discharged are women. That is not a coincidence. It is a flashing red light showing who is disproportionately bearing the brunt of this crisis, trapped under debt that is probably ballooned way past whatever they originally borrowed.
And just look at these profiles. The average balance is a staggering $115,000. The top 10%, they owe over $250,000. And the age range goes all the way up to 76 years old. Let's be real. You don't get to be 70 years old still carrying 6 figures of student debt because you were bad with your money. You end up there because the system is literally designed to trap.
And this, right here, this really gets to the heart of the whole mess. One expert pointed out that for a lot of people, bankruptcy is the only real path out. Just let that sink in for a second. The only way to escape this financial product isn't to pay it back or get it forgiven, it's to suffer a total financial collapse. When that's your only solution, it's not a solution. It's a confession that the entire system has failed.
So let's go back to that 87% success rate. It's not a victory. It's not mercy. It's triage. It's a tiny little Band-Aid on a massive crisis that was manufactured over decades by bad policy and convenient lies. And that leaves us with just one final crucial question. After all the lives that have been ruined and all the damage that's been done, is anyone ever going to be held accountable for this?